everyone, it's Sandra here, and we are looking in at Teenie. Teenie was the second layer down in my Tumbleweed Worm Café, and look who we had sitting on the top. This is one of our beautiful Vancouver Island worms. Oh, that's his underbelly. Probably doesn't like that. Look at that. Just beautiful. Oops, and he really clinging to my hands. If you wonder how worms can do this, how they can cling when they are upside down, how they can climb glass, how they can climb walls, well, they have little tiny bristles on their underbelly called setae that allow them to do that. And so if you have worms climbing your walls, don't blame them. That's their nature. And one of the things I've learned over, my short history of doing worm farming is that if you give them the opportunity to climb, they will climb. So if the walls of your worm bin are moist, expect worms to go for a bit of a climb. Why wouldn't they? As long as it's not bright light, they are likely to go for a bit of a wander. And so they've got, the ability to do it. They are adept at climbing. It's just that if the surface is dry, it's a deterrent to them. That's why I leave my lids off my bins indoors and out. As long as they are out of the rain, I leave the lids off the bin. Okay, so like I said, this is Teenie. Teenie's getting stuck into a whole bunch of things. Quite moist. Look at, I've got handfuls of this material. Of course, that means it's thick with worms because they love the moisture, don't they? But they are probably at the point that they're hungry. I haven't seen any evidence of last week's feeding. It's been 7 days. There's some leaves. So I've obviously been giving Teenie some leaves. There's old corn cob. So let's just move this bulk of worms. I'd be surprised if there's a feeding zone down the end, given how many worms I'm seeing here. But let's just take a look. Never say never. This end, I'm seeing fungus growth. The moisture probably is leading to a growth in fungus as well, which is fine. Worms love fungus. So again, I've got some of my beautiful maple leaves in here, getting chowed down on by the worms. Now, Bentley Christie made a point in one of his blog posts recently that when you feed a whole leaf like this, worms really can't eat this. You are depending on the bin critters to break this down, and I don't mean the microbes. He said you're dependent on like the chewing insects that are in bins, that to break this into smaller pieces, then the microbes will get to it, then the worms. So he said if you feed large leaves, you have to have a healthy population of bin critters to break it down, or they'll be with you a long, long time. So I thought that was interesting. I thought it was all just a matter of time that the microbes would get to it eventually. But he said you actually need the little pill bugs, the springtails, other chewing insects in your bin if you feed large leaf material. If you feed what I've been trying to switch over to, which is fully processed or partially processed leaf mold, that's not the case. The initial breakdown has already occurred. The microbes and the worms can get into it straight away. Use it as a good carbon source. So it's a good reminder, if you are using full-size leaves, this carbon is not available to the worms immediately. Thank you, Bentley, for that explanation. It makes perfect sense. And I do like feeding an assortment of leaves. I just gather them off my yard and throw them straight into a worm bin, but now I know that is not carbon unless I have bin critters, and even then it's not going to be carbon straight away for the worms. All right, so what is going to make these worms happy today is I'm going to give them some pumpkin. There's Halloween yesterday, so they're going to get some yummy pumpkin. I'm going to give them a handful of leaf mold here, and this leaf mold is now 12 months old. So it's 12 months and 1 week old. If you can see little white flecks in there, it's because it's fungal growth on these leaves. Now these leaves were sort of at the fringes of our leaf mold pile. That's why you can still see them. They are barely breaking down, but nevertheless, they've had a year's worth of microbial action on them. That is a good carbon source for the worms, and the worms will be able to get into that and break it down. It's been my experience using this material now. They will be able to get into it straight away. So there you go. Teenie gets some pumpkin, and oops, and there's one of our giant leaves. Just perfect. All right, everyone, take care.